Moms for Liberty really worked miracles.
We have a crisis in America in public education. This is the future of our kids and our country.
You are joyful warriors.
And we are just getting started. Welcome to the Fire of Liberty show. We are excited to be with you today on this Wednesday morning. What is this? February, I don't
11th?
even know the date. 11th?
Yes.
February 11th, 2026. We bring you the frontline warriors in the culture war in America, mostly Moms for Liberty chapter chairs and a few others from time to time. But we want to tell you their stories because these are the men and women saving America. I'm Tina Deskovich. I'm your CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. And our guest today, I'm not going to tell you her name yet, but the title of the episode is, I think, Being Pro-Choice, but it's not what you think. All you haters in the comments, it actually means something else. We'll get to that in just a minute. First, I want to tell you about exciting news coming out of Moms for Liberty Foundation, and our M4Al Academy. Tomorrow, we are launching an AI and education toolkit. So last August, I signed a pledge on behalf of Moms for Liberty with the White House, the First Lady's AI and Education Task Force. And part of that pledge was saying that we would do our part to get parents up to speed, educate and empower them to get their kids ready for new innovation and new technology. And for us, that means making sure they're protected and making sure that this drug, I'll call it, drug called AI, has some parameters around it so that our children can be safe and they can learn and they won't be sexualized and they won't have a worldview shoved on them in the name of truth that their parents are in control of. And so the goal of our entire AI and education toolbox is to make sure parents are holding all the keys to the AI toolbox for their children. And tomorrow we'll be unrolling all of that. We're very excited to provide these tools and resources for parents. We're going to have a pledge that you could take to your elected officials, that you could sign yourself. We're going to have a proclamation, a school board speech. You can take it straight to your school board, give them a speech, ask them to adopt the proclamation and hand it over to them and hold them accountable to making sure parents are in the driver's seat of AI and education. We're going to have model policy, call up your state legislator, take it down, print it out, suggest that they adopt it at the state level, and a variety of other tools and resources. And honestly, this is just going to be phase one. We are going to have more to unroll in the near future, and we are really looking forward to that. But let's get back to today's episode. Our guest here today is Kristy Davis from El Paso County, Colorado. She's our chapter chair there, and she's going to talk to us about what it means to not just be what it means to be pro school choice. And there's the caveat on our title of our episode. So how are you today, Kristy?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited to share our wins in Colorado.
I'm excited that you came all the way from Colorado, which you said isn't terribly cold this February.
No, it's not. We've been getting good weather, so.
Yeah, so Florida's not that much of a. We got palm trees, so you've hopefully been able to experience some of those in the water, right?
Yep, I went out to the beach.
Oh, good. Good. Okay, so I want to talk because when we did our pre-interview, you were clearly passionate about school choice. And at Moms for Liberty, we actually have some members that are not so passionate about school choice. Okay. And they think it's government overreach. You know, a lot of them are homeschooling moms and they don't want the government regulating anything they're doing to educate their children. And I understand that point of view. But for others, especially in some blue areas like you, school choice means everything. And so why are you so passionate personally about school choice?
Well, I can tell you the story from my COVID years. That's how I got started with all of my advocacy. So in 2020, 2021, I had a 3 and 4-year-old, and we were in school district 11, and they were masking the kids, and I was a new mom. I didn't know much about the school system. I didn't even know which school district my kids were really attending. I didn't know anything about the superintendent or how school boards worked, but I was petrified. My children were masked. They were 3 and 4. They were coming home soaking wet and with food rubbed on the inside, dirt on the outside. It was awful. And I didn't want the masks on my kids. And the school was not listening to me. The school board was not listening to me. And so I talked with some people and found out about school choice and that I could choice my children out of that district and into another district. And that's what I did.
So you talked to some people, and did you just go to the website? And how does that work exactly? Because there are parents all across America who are frustrated with their schools, not over masking probably right now, but maybe discipline policies or violence that's going on in their schools. And so what does school choice in action look like? What's the process for a mom to make a change?
It's a lot easier than people think. So in Colorado, we have open enrollment, which means we're allowed to switch between districts and within the district. So we can switch to other schools inside each district, or we can cross county line or district lines and go to another district. And so with that, it's simple. You just withdraw your students from the school and fill out an application for them to attend another school, and they move them in. And if you do it before student count day, which for us is in October, then the per pupil revenue follows your student.
That's very important. And so that we have, I guess we would have something similar here within our district. Our district is like 72 miles long, so no one's going to go to another school district. Like that doesn't make sense. There's 100 schools to choose from within the district. So, but you can absolutely, we have schools of choice that you can apply for and go into. But to get into those, like the wait list is long, they are full. And of course the schools that are A's are at capacity. And so, you could switch yourself into a C school, but unless there's a specific program there, not a lot of people would do that. Do you find that as a problem in Colorado, that the schools are at capacity that you would really want your children to attend?
Not really. We haven't had that issue. That is one of the stipulations. If there's not room, that the kids in district will have priority over the kids from outside of the district. But my district in El Paso County, we have 17 school districts. And so there's a couple that are highlighted as they have more academic success or accredited with distinction that people want to move into, but we haven't had any issues moving students around. Wow. We also have charter schools. So there's 179 school districts in Colorado. We have about 262 charters, I think is the total right now.
Wow, statewide?
Yeah. And so my district in El Paso County, or my county, has 17 districts, and I think we have around 40 charters.
It's crazy how different it is across the country. And for those that are listening, if you're, a Moms for Liberty chair, you already know this, but most people have no idea. And I didn't even know when we started Moms for Liberty, because Moms for Liberty is set up and structured by county. So a chapter is an entire county, as you know. I'm speaking to the people out there that but the reason behind that is because in Florida, every school district is one county, period. We have 67 counties, 67 chapters. It's clean, it's clear, there's no confusion, but it comes with challenges. I mean, our district is the 10th largest in the state where I am and where I served, and that is 9,000 employees. Like I said, almost 100 school buildings. It's 75,000 students, and it's 72 miles long. And so it's difficult to manage, obviously. And there's very different needs in different parts of the county. And so I don't know that we have the best model in Florida, but I assumed I assume that's how it was across the country, because that was my only experience. And so, and when we started Moms for Liberty, we thought it would just be in Florida. So it made complete sense. But as the story goes, and everybody knows, within a couple of weeks, we went national, and I learned real quick that Nassau County, New York has 40 school districts or something. And so it's challenging. And so are your school districts small?
No.
So you have 17 school districts in your county, and they're not even small.
No. And so 4 to 5 of them are very large. And those are the ones we focus on. A lot of them are rural. And it's hard for me to get out to those because they're an hour and a half, 2 hours away from me. But we try. So if it's something we can push out statewide, I'll try to reach all of the school districts, and then I rely on a lot of advocacy groups within each school district to help me with specific issues for that school district.
That's really a good idea. Let's talk about that for a second. So the one thing I do notice about you, because I follow all of our chapter leaders and all of our chapters, I miss a lot, but sometimes I'm just scrolling and I'm like, there's Kristy Davis at D11 school. There's Kristy Davis the next night at I'm going to get the numbers wrong. 2020. There's Kristy. I'm like, is she going to all 17 school board meetings? And so what you're saying, I love what you just said, because you said you're doing what you can with the districts that you can. And then you're relying on who?
Other advocacy groups. So each of the school districts, the large school districts, has their own advocacy group, and I'm a part of some of them, and I was before I started with Moms for Liberty.
So, like an advocacy group, for example, do you want to say some of their names here?
There's D11 Momentum and D11. We had started one called D11 Stands Up before I started Moms for Liberty. There's the Falcon Freedom Fighters and the Monument Freedom Fighters.
So just groups of parents or activists in communities that you're aligned with. And so if they are in D 48 or whatever. Again, the numbers, I don't know here what they are. But if this, and so instead of you having to come up with district leads, you partner with them and say, we are like-minded, share what you know, and let me raise the red flag when there's a major problem. And then you could scoot out there in one of those rural areas and bring people if needed, right? Is that?
Yes.
What a great system you've built. That's fantastic. And so I hope. What?
We have to, because we have so many districts.
Yeah, but I think it's important for other chapters to hear, other chapter leaders to hear, like innovative ways to conquer the behemoth of running a chapter that has multiple districts.
Yes.
And so that's a great example.
Yeah, it works really well.
I love it. So you school choiced your child or children, child at the time, right?
Two.
Both of them, you had moved them to a new district. And let's talk about, you said something about addressing your school board and they weren't listening, but did you address them publicly? When was that first time that you addressed your school board?
So I pulled my kids out of District 11 and I moved them into District 49, which was a difficult decision for me. I wasn't familiar with how school districts worked. I was scared if I had made the right decision. And so I went onto District 49's website, and their superintendent had done an amazing speech on why he was unmasking kids in his district. And I knew I had made the right choice. And so I wrote a letter to the school board and the superintendent explaining why I had moved my kids, because my kids were 3 and 4 at the time. I think my son had just turned 5.
So was there some kind of preschool or something?
Yeah, it was preschool, so
Okay.
they were there for 2 hours a day.
Got it. Okay.
And my son had just started kindergarten in the beginning of the 21-22 school year. Okay. And so he was going to be full day, and he was going to have that mask on all day now instead of just 2 hours. So I wrote a letter to them thanking them, and I sent it to the school board and to the superintendent, and my friend Jennifer Bertram, who's now my vice chair, said, you have to go to the school board and you have to read this.
Good for her. Do I know Jennifer? Have I met her?
She came to Summit this year.
Oh, I think I might like her. I might like her a
She's
lot.
amazing.
Get out there and speak at your school board meeting.
Yeah.
But I just want to point out a common theme, because at Moms for Liberty, our number one value is we stand for truth, and not that number 2 is any less, but the second one is we build relationships. And already you have said you've built relationships with like-minded organizations to amplify your work. And now you've sent a thank you letter to your superintendent and your school board, which that's relationship building 101. So great work. And now you've got this friend who's like, go speak.
Yes.
And you said,
I was very nervous. So she said, I'll come with you and you're going to do this. You have to. And so I did. And I got up and I gave the speech about why I moved my kids. I gave my son's story of being a 5-year-old and how scared it was for him to be learning all of this stuff and have a mask on his face and a mask on his teacher's face, so he couldn't see any emotions and know how she felt. And I started crying in the middle of my speech, and everybody stood up and cheered and clapped. And
an advocate was born.
Yes. And then I had the advocacy group, the Falcon Freedom Fighters. They charged me at the door and they said, you're amazing. That was amazing. We love what you do. And they kind of took me under their wing and showed me how to advocate for my kids.
That's so great. And the rest is history, because you haven't slowed down or stopped for a minute. And you've had highs and you've had lows, for sure. You're just quietly out there plugging away in this blue Colorado. And again, I'll just be scrolling. And one day I was scrolling and it was like, what? They got their teachers union contract nullified? Like, I think I called you because it was just a post like, look what we did. We're so excited. And I'm like, this is a huge deal. Teachers unions.
Yes.
I think all of America by now knows how I feel about teachers unions. And Randy Weingarten does, because we are in the preface, the opening monologue part to her book.
Oh, great.
Why fascists hate teachers is what it's called. And so guess who the fascists are? Us. And so she knows how we feel about teachers unions. And, it's not just a political talking point. I want to say this to everyone that's listening, because I was on a school board. I chaired a school board for 4 years. And the teachers union actually, they didn't endorse me the first time out of the gate, but I had a really good relationship with them. They chose to stay out of the race because the other candidate was a teachers union member, or husband was a member or something. And so they couldn't just come out and endorse me and not her. So they stayed. I think they gave us both a recommendation. We both were recommended by the union. So I even used the union logo on my mailers.
Oh, wow.
We had a really good relationship. I went out to their meetings and listened to them. after I got elected, I went out to one of the schools. They had like a huge meeting under a pavilion where the school was in shambles. The leadership was terrible. And so the teachers were all out there with the teachers union representatives telling me about how horrible it was. I listened, we took action, we replaced the principal, I worked with the superintendent. And so really, like, I thought, I'm killing it. I'm a, strong, principled, conservative woman who's built this relationship with the teachers union. And we are going to just excel this district by working together so well. But it turns out the teachers union has to have an enemy in order to grow their membership, in order to advance what they're trying, their political ideologies. And I became target number one real quick, and by the whole state, by the Florida Teachers Union, by the Florida Democrat Party, and the relationship deteriorated really quick. But what I saw was them not putting kids first, just like we see nationally. And so, Moms for Liberty was created to push back against a dominating teachers union that's been controlling education for a long time. And so I say all of this because when I'm scrolling and I see that little Kristy Davis in Colorado is sitting with D11, what are they called? The group?
D11 Momentum.
D11 Momentum. And you guys are sitting there and the post is like, no more teachers union in our district. And I'm like, how did you do that? So tell me just tell me how this happens. How do you get there? What exactly am I talking about when I say this? What did you accomplish? What was this win? And what did it take to get there?
Okay, well, it stems off of what I just said about my speech with D49. So I go to D49, I do my speech to them, then I go back to D11. And I tell D11 my same story that I just told D49, thanking them, but I say it to them as a warning. And I say, you're going to lose enrollment because of what you are doing to our children. And at the time, D11 was progressively controlled. We only had a couple of very quiet conservatives on the board, and the superintendent was very progressive. And so they were about to run an MLO, which is a mill levy override. It's a bond for the district. And we were able to rally a bunch of parents in the district to vote down their MLO. They lost by 11 votes.
Wow.
We went to that school board meeting with 11 parents, 11 of us who had opened our eyes and did not vote for their MLO. We were able to turn down their bond. So that starts it. Then we have elections in 2021, and we were able to flip that board conservative. And the very first thing that board did was remove the masks from the kids. And their next step was to fire the superintendent. And we brought in an amazing superintendent named Michael Gala. And we started slowly removing some of these progressive policies, and we wanted to put a parental rights policy or procedure in place, and we found that the teachers union was constricting how we were able to do that. And we were going to put it above the teachers union master agreement, which at the time was above our policies for the school. So the master agreement was actually making decisions on curriculum and instruction.
Of course it is.
And making decisions on hiring and all kinds of things, and taking that out of the hands of our elected board members.
That is what I try to explain this to everyone, and I hope they hear. Like, your teachers union contract, it's called something different from state to state, but every school district that I know of, except for D11 in El Paso, Colorado, and a few others that she's telling me in Colorado, has a contract. And it's not, I got elected and I thought it would be a 20-page contract, talk about their salaries maybe. Oh, no, it's like,
yeah.
And it, like you said, it's when school starts and stops. What days we get off, the calendaring. Like, they have more control than the elected officials. And here in Florida, you get elected by like 80,000, like my district, 80,000 people voted for me to sit on that school board. And yet the teachers union had more power to control things. And it's so upside down. And when people know that, it's super infuriating. So you learned that and figured it out.
Yes.
And so what'd you do?
And so the school board at the time decided we don't need to do a parental rights
we just need to get rid of the teachers union.
If we just get rid of the teachers union, we can build parental rights into our current policies.
Oh my gosh.
And so
That's
we
great.
worked on it, and they had a contract, and the contract was coming due to be renewed. And so I believe it was December of 2024, they announced that they would not be renewing the teachers union contract. And then in June of 2025, they revoked it.
So I have no idea if that's,
renew it.
it's probably not legal in every state, because there's some laws in some states that are, ironclad to protect the union. So I think this might be something we want to explore as an organization. And maybe initiate where it is legal, or, figure out what the nuances are, because talk about taking power out of the union. And if I need to remind people, the union meets every summer, and for years we've been following it. And their agendas have nothing to do with education, nothing to do with failing reading scores, nothing to even do with teacher working conditions. It's like foreign policy, what's going on in Israel, abortion, like the stuff that they're addressing. They are just a political advocacy group that aren't even fighting for teachers. And so
they're private and they're receiving taxpayer money. And they're not accountable. Like, we have the elected officials that we elected, and they're unelected bureaucrats.
Yeah, and so El Paso County D11 just said we're not renewing the teachers. So does the teachers union still exist in D11? Is there a D11
There's
union?
a teachers union, but they are not in control of our district anymore. So
do they bargain? Do they come to the table and have even though there's no contract? Are they trying to get a new contract?
Well, the board made a handbook for the teachers to follow now, and they're in control of all of it.
So much healthier, every other place of employment. And this isn't about beating up teachers. Let me be clear, we love teachers. But it gives them the freedom and autonomy to advocate for themselves, not some big union boss bully. I love this.
And it's merit-based now, so if teachers are not performing, then they're held accountable. And it's easier for them to deal with situations that arise in the school. It's faster.
It gives the autonomy to the school board, too, to give bonuses or raises for good performance. Or, for example, here, Erica Donalds, who's on our advisory council, she was a school board member on the other side of Florida when I served. And she fought for Immokalee, which is the poorest town in all of Florida. It is rural. It's a failing school by everyone's measure. And she proposed and fought for teachers that were willing to go out. It's far away, too, from the very wealthy Collier County School District headquarters and all the schools there. And she fought tooth and nail to give teachers that were willing to go out there a bonus.
Nice.
To help these kids who can't read. Teachers union wouldn't allow it.
Well, and they're also protecting teachers that shouldn't be in place. We had a teacher in that same district that we've been trying to get fired for years now. She was pushing leftist ideologies onto her fifth grade students, so they're 10 years old. She had all of her students write letters to the board calling them racists and fascists. And we took all of the evidence to the superintendent, and we couldn't get her fired because she's protected by the union. And so she's on administrative leave now, and the superintendent recommended her termination at the last board meeting.
I would say we can thank the teachers union. They can thank themselves that Moms for Liberty is even created. I mean, we shouldn't need Moms for Liberty. Your elected officials should have the power and the authority to do, but the system is so messed up and so out of balance. And, because of my experiences with the union and because of what we've seen across America and the things that you're describing, Moms for Liberty is necessary.
Yes.
And so maybe one day we'll work ourselves out of an organization and that would be a miracle. Okay, we're going to take a break just for a minute here. We have Moms for Liberty is hosting its first ever fundraiser. We, all kinds of nonprofit organizations host galas and events that are fundraisers. And we are joining the ranks. But it's not just your ordinary fundraiser. It is going to be the most amazing fundraiser in America in all of time. And so this is our 5th year. Moms for Liberty is 5 years old. And I think we're going to take a break and watch this. We're debuting our Ellis Island video right now. It's a 2-minute video. Watch it. And when you come back, we're going to talk to Kristy a little bit more about her chapter and some things going on in Colorado. Do you know where your American dream began? Did it start with you, maybe your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, or even further back? About 30 years ago, I began to ask that question. And I found my great-grandfather, Antonio Maida. He arrived at Ellis Island at 3 years old. I spent 5 years studying all the names on the manifest, trying to figure out why his mother would send him alone to America. And one day I made a connection and found his mother's maiden name and realized she was right there on the ship with him. What I learned over the years studying my family history is that almost all of my ancestors have come through Ellis Island. So several years ago, my family, we took a trip to Ellis Island to see for ourselves. We entered the Grand Hall, right where all of my ancestors entered their American dream. So when we launched Moms for Liberty in 2021, I knew then that one day we would want to have a celebration of America on Ellis Island. Here we are 5 years later, And to celebrate our 5th birthday, we're going to Ellis Island. It also happens to be America's 250th birthday. And so we're joining Glenn Beck and the Torch, we're joining American Journey Experience, and the Freedom 250 Coalition. I hope you will join us for the Black Tie Gala with a beautiful program that will inspire for generations to come. Towards the end of the evening, we're going to move outside for a program with the backdrop of the Statue of Liberty. The night will end with fireworks over the Statue of Liberty and an after party right there on Ellis Island. So come and join us on May 2nd, 2026, Ellis Island, New York, and come find your American dream story. Welcome back to the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, the CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. We have with us today here Kristy Davis from El Paso County, Colorado, Chapter Chair. We're having a great discussion. We're going to explore a little bit about mental health in schools, age of consent in Colorado next. I hope you enjoyed that video about our Sea to Sea to Shining Sea event on Ellis Island on May 6th. It is a fundraiser. We hope that you will consider joining us. As you saw in the video, Glenn Beck is going to be there. We've got some other high-profile guests that are coming. It's going to be a remarkable evening. So join us if you can. Now let's get back to this conversation with Kristy. I loved how before the break we were talking about teachers' unions and how worthless they are. And so now I want to transition a little bit into other concerns that you are standing up for and fighting for in Colorado. And one of those is mental health services in schools. What are your thoughts there and what's happening in Colorado that's concerning?
So there's a lot going on with mental health in Colorado. I know that it's probably a push nationwide to bring mental health concerns to schools, which is bringing more mental health professionals and clinics into schools. It comes with surveys and a whole bunch of different concerns with data, and it violates parental rights. And the way that it's violating parental rights the most in Colorado is that the age of consent in Colorado is 12 for children to seek mental health treatment.
12?
12 years old.
Without parental consent or knowledge or anything?
Nothing. They don't have to tell parents anything.
Wow.
So every time they bring a mental health counselor or any kind of mental health program into the schools, children can go and see the counselor or have evaluations done without parents knowing anything.
In schools?
Yes.
Wow.
So you can see where this can get very concerning if a child is having suicidal tendencies, if they're concerned about gender incongruence or eating disorders, any kind of mental health. They can just go to the counselor, they can start treating them, start discussing stuff with them, and by law, they're not allowed to
Shame on them. And I'm going to say this because both of my sons have at one time or another needed a therapist or something of that nature. So as a mother, we have experiences in my family with mental health. Mm-hmm. And we've sometimes gone through a few mental health counselors. I don't know what your experience is there, but the best ones that have been effective in getting my boys healthy and strong are the ones that include the family. Always, hands down. Like, you can't give therapy in a silo to a child who's living in a home with other family members. As a matter of fact, the best therapist that one of my sons had insisted, he's like, if I'm going to see your son, this also means once a week, the whole family. Period. End of story. How they integrate, how they interact, because he could be moving forward and getting stronger, and you guys are all doing the same stupid stuff to not help and strengthen him. And so it's wrong on a million levels, parental authority, your God-given right to raise your child and know what's going on. But it's also bad therapy. Oh, speaking of like Abigail Schreier's book, Bad Therapy. Interesting.
So did you choose those counselors for your children?
Which ones? The ones that
any of the counselors that your child saw?
Not only did I choose, it was a huge process of research, interviewing, visiting, talking with, you just don't pull one off the internet for your child because they're influencing their brain, their development, their beliefs, their values.
Yes. And so do you trust your school to choose that counselor for you? That's the biggest problem. Is when the school chooses the mental health counselor, you have no idea who that counselor is going to be. And I believe, Erin Lee from Colorado.
Yeah.
So that happened with Erin Lee is that they had a counselor who was a blood witch counseling her child.
Well, a blood witch?
A blood witch. That's
I
what
don't know
Erin
what that is.
Lee calls her.
What does that mean?
It's a satanic On the
like
side,
a
she's
true
a true
witch.
blood witch. Is the counselor in the school, and she's teaching mental health programs in the school. And she had her hands on Erin Lee's daughter. And for those of you that do not know the story of Erin, please do watch her documentary and look her up, and you'll see exactly what happened to her daughter. Luckily, she was able to get her daughter out of that cycle. But those are the kind of people that can be in the schools counseling your children. You have no idea who it is. You're not vetting them, and they don't have to tell you anything about it.
I don't know how you keep your child in a public school in Colorado with the age of consent for mental health at 12. And because I'm not trying to scare you, but your children right now, if they're in public school, could be receiving mental health counseling, and you would never know.
Yes. So what I've done with my chapter, and what I encourage parents to do across the state of Colorado, is that we have an opt-out form. So we have an opt-out form for sex education, mental health therapy, and surveys.
Is that statewide or just in your district?
It's statewide.
Excellent.
And we have the opt-out form on our El Paso County Moms for Liberty page at the bottom. And I check all those boxes, and I make sure that my children know that they are not to see the counselor at school, and they are not to take any surveys. And my kids are 8 and 10, and they come home all the time, and they tell me stuff. I also tell them to watch their social emotional learning program in school and tell me everything that's going on.
Yeah, we talked at the beginning of this episode about how we're launching the AI Toolkit tomorrow, and how I'm part of the AI and Education Task Force through the White House. And when I addressed them in December, the other members of the cabinet, about this, one of the things I said was absolutely, like, no questions asked, no SEL in AI in schools, period, end of story. It can't happen. It needs to be banned. Like, it cannot happen. And I saw the looks of some of them that maybe they didn't know what SEL is. And it's very concerning for someone like you or me, because if they start putting SEL lessons through AI with AI companions, that's mental health counseling and therapy. Now you don't even have a witch or whatever. You have a robot, an algorithm that is being programmed by who knows, influencing your child's development. And so, we hate to be the black helicopter people right now on the show, The Fire of Liberty, but this is actually all true. It is actually all happening right now. And we are sounding the alarm and waving the flags. I'm so proud of you that you have on your website, opt out, you're educating parents. You can opt out, and not all states allow that. So good job, Colorado, for standing somewhat for freedom.
Well, we get a lot of pushback, especially from board members, because they want to address children's mental health. And my thought on that is, especially with the age of consent being 12, is detection. You can detect it. That's fine. If you think there's something going on with the child, but you need to bring the parents in. The parents need to be then dealing with it outside of the school.
Suicide risk assessments. We did them in my school district all the time. You can do a suicide risk assessment without actually treating. Like, you can find out if the child is suicidal, or if there's, and then you could refer it to the parent.
Mm-hmm. And I think when in the state of Colorado, where the age of consent is 12, they have to be doing that. And school boards need to be encouraging that, because if they try to do it themselves and they bring in the counselors, it's a state law that parents are not notified. And that's a huge violation of parental rights. So
you've had some great wins in your chapter, some losses. I know I've heard your losses, and I just want to tell you, like, sometimes I think you focus on the losses, and you've got so many amazing wins. I maybe we should print them out for you and put them up on a wall, so that when those losses hit hard, you can remember the progress that you guys are making there in Colorado and in your chapter. Let's talk about about your chapter a little bit. What's your most proud moment of leading a Moms for Liberty chapter?
My most proud moment, I think, besides the master agreement in D11, would be when we had our injunction for Title IX. We worked really hard in our chapter. I spent hours and hours reaching out to different districts and trying to get members to join Moms for Liberty to protect them under our injunction. We had over 210 schools protected.
That's amazing.
And that's against Title IX, which is, Biden was trying to change Title IX to include gender instead of sex.
Yeah, he was trying to allow boys into girls' sports and boys into girls' bathrooms. And not just allow, they rewrote Title IX. Let me be very clear for those that don't know. The Biden administration, the Department of Education, rewrote Title IX. You can't do that, first of all, to allow gender identity in, basically. So if they felt like a boy or if they felt like a girl, they could be in the locker room and play the sports and do all the things. And they were trying to force it on school districts across the country. And as you know, Moms for Liberty, sued them. We sued the Biden administration, and we won the injunction, which said in the craziest way that if you're a Moms for Liberty member and your kid is in a school, the school didn't have to enforce the new Title IX rewrite. And luckily now we've got a new president, and all of that's been kind of revoked and reeled back into the original intent of Title IX. But it was an exciting time for us. And for you and your chapter, like that's a lot of work that paid off.
And
So
it raised awareness, I think. And
what was
that
happening.
momentum is still going strong. So
It's crazy because the violations are still happening all across the country. I think yesterday, we've watched the last week or so. I don't know if you're following what's going on in Wisconsin. That's a huge story that's breaking. I think the superintendent said something like, of course we're allowing boys in the girls' bathrooms. And I think it's a good thing.
yeah, we just had in District 49, our school board passed a policy in September for sex-segregated facilities, and the board flipped in November, and they revoked it.
I can't believe that this is what we're fighting about in America.
Yeah.
Bathrooms for children and keeping girls safe.
Yep.
It's insane.
So that's one of the things. We also removed the social emotional learning program called Second Step. I did a curriculum review, which I encourage all parents to do. If there's a curriculum review happening at your school, please look into it. If you see any concerns, bring them to the board. Luckily, this district had a review process where they lay out the curriculum for 2 weeks before they approve it or renew it, and they were renewing this one. So I went in and I looked over it, and I found all kinds of white shaming. There was like racial bias, a whole bunch of stuff about allyship, teaching of LGBTQ concepts. And I raised the red flag to the district. They had to pause the meeting. They moved it to the next month, and there was so much uproar that they removed it from the district.
The power of one mom. Like that is the power of one mom. And I will say when I was on the school board, so in Florida, it's state law. You have to open the curriculum before you adopt it for a period of time, like 30 days. And then you have to have 2 public school board meetings where you have to actually say a statement. As when I was chair, I would say, is there anyone in the room that would like to speak to the history curriculum we're about to adopt? Hit the wait for anybody, give everybody that would show up all the time to speak that they needed. Well, they each get 3 minutes, but as many that wanted to speak, hit the gavel. And then you have to ask again. It's not even just once. You have to ask again, then you have to wait, and then you have to hit the gavel. It's a legal process.
Wow.
And I tried to get people there every single month. I would call the Republican clubs. I would speak at Republican clubs. I would put out in my newsletter. I'd put it all over social. We're reviewing the history curriculum for 12 years. We're reviewing the science curriculum for 12 school years. I can't do it alone. I'm a single school board member, and I need your help. Like, where is everybody? And so it was so frustrating because no one would show up to those meetings. Nobody. It was dead silence every single time. And I thought, I know some of the stuff that's brought to me that are in these that is in the books and in the curriculum, and no one's catching it, no one's exposing it, and here we are just adopting books again. Like, we have to be engaged parents. And so you're one mom, you show up, you review it, and you got it delayed, and then what happened after 30 days?
They removed it. But one thing that we can do is, I know a lot of parents, they're scared, but they do have the time to do the curriculum review. If you red flag it to us, we're not afraid. So I'll go ahead and blast it all over the place. I mean, that's what we did. I took my curriculum review and I highlighted some of the stuff that was really, really concerning and red and bolded it, and I blasted it all over social media. And I mean, it hit next door and raised a huge uproar in the community. The board was just getting overloaded with emails. What is this woman saying? The opposition tried to say I was lying, so I had to go back through and I highlighted every single source and every single link, and I sent it back to them, and they clicked on all of them. And I mean, it was teacher resources. So when you would look at the actual curriculum on the page, it looked like everything was great. And then when you went into the teacher resources, it was...
Always check the teacher manual and that's where the most insidious stuff is. We found that with Wit and Wisdom in North Carolina and or in Tennessee and other places. Yeah. And, I learned over time after talking to their former state superintendent that she went straight to Wit and Wisdom and said, do you realize your curriculum is doing this, this, and this? And they said, yeah, it was intended to.
Yeah.
It was intended to socially activate second graders to the reading curriculum. It wasn't a class on social justice. This was like how to learn to read in second grade, and it was intended to cause division and stir up their hearts against their fellow classmates of a different color. Like it's despicable. And
Yeah,
so
we
parents,
had a run-in with Wit and Wisdom too.
yeah, win wisdom is bad news.
We also had Reveal Math removed. So a math curriculum had social emotional learning built into it.
Good grief.
And that was coming to a charter. And I went and did the curriculum review, and I was 2-3 hours in, and I was red-faced. I was fuming mad. The board members were looking at me like, what is going on? And I had calls from all 5 of them just on my drive home from the school. And they assured me that this would not be in the school. After I started telling them what was going on, the superintendent reached out to me and she said, well, what if I reach out to the company and I tell them to give us a version that doesn't have this? And I said, why would you financially support a company that pushes these values? These are not the values of the school. And so we were able to stop it. And we kept Saxon Math in the school, and Reveal Math went away.
Yeah, Saxon Math has been around for like generations. It's tried and true. Why the new stuff with all the woke nonsense in it? So thank you for doing curriculum reviews. If you're a chapter chair listening out there today, to contact Kristy. Like, go in the chapter chair Facebook group and connect with her. Find out what you need to do to be doing curriculum reviews in your district. It's really one of the most powerful things, I would say, as a Moms for Liberty chapter that we can do. And it's so great to be able to include others. There's grandmas and grandpas and uncles and older retired individuals that can, like experts, like maybe it's a retired doctor. Maybe they can review the biology curriculum.
Yeah, retired teachers are a huge resource for us.
Retired teachers, excellent resource. And so you build relationships with them to help them review the curriculum. And again, they don't have to speak publicly. Like, you're an expert at that now. You know, you can go up and take care of business. And we have such a reputation that we can just push it out publicly too, and people will pay attention. So another huge win. So let's kind of, as this is starting to wind down here, what would you say is just your overarching why? Why do you spend hours reviewing curriculum, maybe in school districts that your kids aren't even in?
It's always for my children. Everything that I do is for my children, even if it's not in their school. These are their peers. These are the people they're going to grow up with. And so I need to make sure that we keep all of the children in our county and in our state and our country safe. And so putting out these curriculum reviews is important. And sharing them amongst the chapter chairs, I think, is a great way to push it out across the country.
Yeah, we really probably need to build a repository of this. Like, Wit and Wisdom is housed in the Williamson County, Tennessee's personal website, or their old chapter website. But all of the problems with it, we probably need to, and if you've done these many quick curriculum reviews, we really should start housing so that there is more cross collaboration. I would like to start advancing that. And then the last question we ask everyone on the Fire of Liberty show is, what does it mean to you to be a joyful warrior?
It's always act as if your children are watching you, because they are, and they're our next generation, and we need to give them the best that we can give them. So we need to teach them passion, but we also need to teach them compassion. So it's all about the kids and empowering parents so that they never feel helpless like I did during COVID. So I always look out for parents that are afraid to speak, and give them their voice, empower them, educate them, and unify them. Unify,
educate, and empower them. You tied it right back to our mission. I love that. And you are an excellent example of that out there in Blue, Colorado, standing alone a lot of the time, I would say, with your posse that's close to you and supporting you. But I'm sure it's very lonely. So we're grateful for you overall at Moms for Liberty. We're grateful that you took the time to come out here all the way to Florida to speak to us today, to share your wins, to help inspire other parents, because you are doing an excellent job. And that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Fire of Liberty show. I'm Tina Deskovich, CEO and co-founder of Moms for Liberty. This is Kristy Davis, the chair of El Paso County, Colorado chapter. She is a warrior who has grown from a scared mom to a champion for moms across her state, giving them a voice up against the teachers' unions. Heck, she's dismantling the teachers' unions single-handedly. You hear that, Randy Weingarten? You need to, you've got a new enemy in town. It's not always who you think it is. It's just these moms that watch what unions are doing to kids and aren't going to let that happen anymore. We are grateful that you joined us today, and that hopefully you're listening every week. Go to Apple or Spotify to listen. Give us 5 stars. Leave a note of how great this episode was, and share with your friends. You can also find us live every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on all of our socials. Until next week.